Okay, so we're diving into something a listener specifically requested, this idea of dark calories.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's something that I think we all kind of grapple with. You hear buzzwords like low fat or heart healthy, and we just sort of assume it's good for us,
Right.
right?
Right, we take it at face value.
Exactly. But what if some of these foods that we think are good for us are actually doing some long-term harm?
Yeah, that's the thing about nutrition. It's often not as straightforward as we might hope. So that's what we're going to be digging into today, taking a deep dive into this idea of dark calories, looking specifically at vegetable oils and the impact they have on our health.
And we've got to start with the history here because it's a weird one.
It really is.
We're talking about vegetable oil, but it actually starts in a soap factory.
Yeah, not exactly the connection you expect, right? Back in the late 1890s, Procter & Gamble, the company known for soap and candles, they're looking for a cheaper alternative to tallow, which was their main ingredient at the time, and that's where cottonseed oil comes in.
Cottonseed oil as in...
As in the cotton plant.
So we're talking about an industrial byproduct here, right?
Exactly. Primarily used as lamp fuel back then, so not exactly appetizing. It was even used as an insecticide because of a naturally occurring toxin in it called gossypol.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they refine it to remove most of the gossypol, but still makes you wonder, how did this industrial byproduct end up in our food?
Right. It's not a natural leap.
Not at all.
Hmm.
Basically, it came down to economics. Cottonseed oil was plentiful and it was cheap, so there was this big shift away from traditional fats like butter and lard towards these vegetable oils. And it wasn't necessarily driven by health benefits, it was purely economic.
That's kind of a red flag, isn't it?
Yeah,
But the main driver is it's cheaper. No, it's better for you.
for sure. It's something to keep in mind. But let's get into why these oils are potentially harmful.
Yeah, let's talk on the science.
Okay, so it all comes down to their chemical structure. Vegetable oils are primarily made up of polyunsaturated fats, or PUFAs. And PUFAs have these double bonds in their structure, which makes them less stable. Think of it like a line of dominoes. Those double bonds are like weak points, expose them to heat, light, or even just air, and it's like flicking that first domino.
You're saying just having these oils sitting on our shelves can cause issues?
Well, it can start the process. It's called oxidation. The PUFAs start to break down and they create these harmful compounds. And we're not talking about some benign byproduct here. Some of these compounds are actually listed as hazardous materials. Researchers have even found these compounds in the plaques of people with heart disease, so there's a very direct link there.
So this is not just something that, might be happening. It's actually causing damage.
That's the scary part.
And this is where Dr. Grutel's research comes in, right? He used NMR spectroscopy to actually visualize these toxins.
Exactly. He looked at different kinds of oils, heated them up, and what he found was pretty alarming. The heated vegetable oils were just chock full of these toxic compounds, while more stable fats like coconut oil and butter showed almost none even at high temperatures.
So we're essentially turning our own bodies into deep fryers when we consume these oils.
That's a good way to put it. And it's not just about what we're cooking with. It's the sheer volume of these oils in our diet. We're constantly bombarded with them.
It's like they're in everything, right?
They really are. And our bodies just weren't designed to handle this kind of constant influx of these unstable fats.
And it's not a new problem either, is it?
No, not at all. The Elgin project that you mentioned really highlights this. They found that even back in the 1960s, people who ate a lot of corn oil had way more PUFAs in their body fat compared to those who ate more lard. So this shift towards PUFAs has been happening for decades.
And that was back then, so what does it look like now?
Well, Dr. Guyaness' research kind of picks up where the Elgin project left off. He looked at body fat analysis data spanning decades, and what he found is that the amount of QFAs in our bodies has more than doubled since then.
Doubled? That's huge.
It's a staggering increase, and it really raises some red flags about what happens when our bodies reach a saturation point with these unstable fats.
It's like we're filling up a glass of water, and we just keep pouring and pouring even when it's overflowing.
And eventually that glass is going to shatter.
Yeah.
Our bodies have this amazing ability to adapt, but there's a limit. And this constant overload of PUFAs is like this low-level stress that just keeps building and building.
Oxidative stress, right?
Exactly. It's like a tiny fire that's constantly burning inside our cells. And over time, that damage adds up. It can contribute to all sorts of health problems, from heart disease to diabetes, even Alzheimer's and cancer.
It's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
It is, but there's good news. Our bodies have ways of fighting back.
Like?
Well, one of our main defenses is vitamin E. It's a powerful antioxidant that helps to neutralize those harmful compounds we talked about.
So the more PUFAs we eat, the more vitamin E we need.
That's the idea. And studies have shown that people who eat high PUFA diets do need significantly more vitamin E to protect their cells.
That makes sense. But it doesn't always work out that way, does it? We can't just superdose on vitamin E and call it good.
That's the thing. There seems to be a limit to how much vitamin E can actually help.
Okay.
There was this one study where they put people on a high PUFA diet and gave them either a standard dose of vitamin E or a really high dose.
Okay.
And after 2 years, the people who were getting the standard dose of vitamin E levels actually started to drop, and their cells showed more signs of damage.
Even though they were supplementing.
Even though they were supplementing. And what's even more interesting is that the group that was getting the really high dose of vitamin E, they didn't see any additional benefit. Their cells were still showing signs of damage after 2 years.
So even with our best defenses, we're still losing the battle.
It seems that way. And this really highlights the dangers of this PUFA overload. We do need some PUFAs in our diet, absolutely, but the amount that most people are consuming now, it's just way beyond what our systems are equipped to handle.
And that brings us to this whole conversation about cholesterol, right? Because for years, we've been told that cholesterol is the enemy.
Right, that we need to avoid it like the plague.
But what if we've got it all wrong? What if cholesterol is actually our friend?
It's a radical thought, isn't it? But the more we learn about cholesterol, the more it seems like we might have been giving it a bad rap for all these years.
So walk me through this. What does cholesterol actually do in the body?
Well, it's in every single cell in our body, for starters. It's vital for cell function. It's crucial for hormone production. It even helps us make vitamin D.
It's like this essential building block that we need to function.
Exactly. And yet we've been told to fear it for decades. To think it's like clogging our arteries and causing heart attacks.
But you're saying it's not that simple.
Not at all. You see, cholesterol is like our body's repair crew. It swoops in to help fix damage and reduce inflammation.
So if you have high cholesterol, it might be a sign that something else is going on.
Exactly. It's like seeing smoke coming from a house. You don't blame the firefighters for the fire, right? They're there to help.
So maybe high cholesterol isn't the problem, it's a symptom of a deeper issue.
Precisely. And often that deeper issue goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the oxidative stress caused by those unstable PUFAs.
So it's like blaming the Band-Aid for the cut instead of the knife.
Exactly. We need to shift our focus from just lowering cholesterol to addressing the root cause of the inflammation.
And this is where the role of the pharmaceutical industry gets a little murky, right?
Well, it's important to remember that they have a vested interest in promoting certain narratives, especially when it comes to cholesterol-lowering drugs.
It makes you wonder how much of this fear around cholesterol is really about our health, and how much of it is about profits.
It's a valid question, and one that we should all be asking. We need to be critical thinkers, especially when it comes to our health. We can't just blindly accept everything we're told.
So if we're rethinking our relationship with food and questioning everything we thought we knew about fats and cholesterol, what does a truly healthy diet actually look like?
You know, it's funny because the answer is actually quite simple. It's about getting back to basics.
Back to basics.
Yeah, think about the way our ancestors ate for thousands of years. Fresh whole foods, minimally processed ingredients, a good balance of nutrients. That's what our bodies are designed to thrive on.
It's not about following the latest fad diet or counting every single calorie.
It's about nourishing your body with real food and listening to your hunger cues.
And trusting that our bodies know what they need.
Exactly. We've become so disconnected from our food and our bodies in modern society. It's time to reclaim that connection.
I love that. This deep dive has been a wild ride. We've gone from the origins of vegetable oil to the domino effect of PUFA oxidation, debunked the cholesterol myth, and explored the principles of a truly healthy diet. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. But if there's one thing I hope you take away from this, it's to be skeptical, to ask questions, and to never stop learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of information out there, and the more we learn, the better equipped we are to take control of our health.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to dive deeper into the research. We've included some resources in the show notes if you're interested.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to check out our other episodes where we explore a wide range of fascinating topics related to health, nutrition, and well-being. Until next time, stay curious, my friend.
And stay healthy.
It's your body.